Good evening, Depew. I am Dr. Raby, your very proud superintendent, and I'm here tonight to present to you the updated Cayuga Heights Elementary reopening guidance as a result of the change in guidance from the CDC and the New York State Department of Health. And with that, I will begin our presentation for tonight. To start off, I just wanted to review the agenda items for tonight, which will be the updated reopening plan starting Monday, April 19th. Review the frequently asked questions that we had from our first reopening guidance, but also a couple items that have come up since then. And we will also update that frequently asked questions based off of the thought exchange, which will be updated on our website tomorrow, Friday, April 16th, along with the recording of this presentation. And again, as I mentioned, you can submit additional questions via the thought exchange link, which I'll show right here. And the question is based on the information presented in this forum on the updated reopening plan. What additional questions might you have? You can use the QR code or type in the 9-digit code on the tejoin.com website, and you can participate live right now in that thought exchange as we go through the presentation. And then, as I mentioned, and as we did back in August, I'll compile all of those thoughts and create our updated FAQ and post it on our website. So if you remember back in August when we did our original reopening plan and presentations, we talked about parents making that informed decision. And our top priority has been and always will be the safety and well-being of our students and the entire Depew family. And at the same time, we are focused on fulfilling our core mission and commitment to the students of Depew and their education. And when we talked about making that decision, we used this graphic centered around health and safety and student learning and the different learning models that we had available to us as a result of the guidance that was provided to us from the CDC and the Department of Health. And focusing on health and safety, we know that obviously that's our priority, but as we move to the left to remote learning, we know that our kids in a pandemic are the safest when they are at home, and there's risk involved when they come together and come to that 100% in-person learning. We also know that student learning does suffer when kids are at home by themselves doing the remote learning with their teachers. And it is maximized when they are here with us full-time, face-to-face. So then if we look at that 100% in-person learning, which we are ready and prepared to do starting Monday, 5 days a week for those students that have chosen that option, we know that there will be a little bit more risk involved, and we'll talk about that later in the presentation. However, we are anticipating a much higher engagement for those individuals. And on the other side, for those students that either chose to go into remote learning or stay in remote learning, we know those risks will be lower, but again, that engagement will be limited based on being in a remote environment. And that's why, we focused when we designed our plans, our learning plans, and based on the guidance from August, we developed our hybrid learning model, which will still be utilized for our middle school and high school students. And again, I'll get into more of that and the rationale behind that later in the presentation. As of today, with 808 students identified from the Family Intent Survey that was done back in March, we had about 120 students, 15% of our students that have chosen full remote learning, either to go into or stay in remote learning, and 688 students, or 85% of our elementary population, to come to us for in-person learning 5 days a week. So how did we get here? So if you remember back in February, our intent was at the end of the first semester, prior to the second semester starting, we wanted to engage our families again in a thought exchange and ask what has been working well in your learning environment and where would you need more support. And one of the key responses or key themes from that thought exchange was all about kids being back in school full time. And these were the three top thoughts around that particular theme. It was if parents are okay with their kids being in school full-time, that option should be available. And at the time it wasn't because we didn't have the updated guidance, but we were anticipating it. I wish they could go back to school full-time, and for kindergarten through 5th grade, these kids should be back in school. Then, from that point in time up until March 19th, we were always anticipating that the updated guidance was going to be coming from the New York State Department of Health rather than the CDC. In fact, there were a number of events that were taking place and statements that were made by the officials in Albany that we were to expect updated guidance from the New York State Department of Health at any point in time throughout February. That never happened, and we were prepared for it, but it never happened, and we were quite surprised when on March 19th we received the CDC guidance, and that allowed for physical distancing to move from 6 feet to 3 feet with conditions. Being prepared, we immediately sent out our parent intent survey seeking the intent of our families to return to school in person or enter into or remain in remote learning. And again, we're at 85% of our elementary students that want in-person 5 days a week learning and 15% that want to stay remote. Then that Monday, that was Friday, that Monday, administrative conversations commenced with building level leadership teams in review of the CDC guidance, and additional furniture was ordered in anticipation of the New York State Department of Health guidance as a result of the CDC guidance. Then on Friday, April 9th, just a little while ago, almost a week ago, at 5:30 at night, we finally received that New York State Department of Health guidance, and that guidance supported the CDC guidance with regard to physical distancing. So this past Monday, the district announced its commitment to fully reopening Cayuga Heights Elementary to 5 days a week as of this upcoming Monday, April 19th. So a little bit about our reopening plan around health and safety and the guidance. So districts may choose to reduce physical distancing to no less than 3 feet between students during academic instruction. However, districts must follow CDC recommendations for physical distancing depending upon community transmission rates and grade levels. Schools must adhere to the exceptions where a minimum of 6 feet of distance must be maintained, including 6 feet is always the required distancing between adults and between students and adults. 6 feet of distance is required when eating meals or snacks or drinking, or other times masks must be removed, such as mask breaks. This may mean that meals cannot be eaten in classrooms that have been converted to 3 feet of physical distance during instruction time. Individuals participating in activities that require projecting the voice or playing a wind instrument must be 6 feet apart. That originally was 12 feet. And there must be 6 feet of distance between the performers and the audience during performance and concerts. 6 feet of physical distance must be maintained in common areas and outside of classrooms, such as lobbies, auditoriums, gymnasiums, and where possible. And all districts must have a mandatory face mask policy, which we've had in place since September. The indicators, and this is where the conditions come into play. Due to evidence that transmission risk ranges by the age of the student, the CDC recommends that physical distancing requirements differ by grade level and community transmission risk. CDC has developed 4 levels of indicators and thresholds for community transmission of COVID-19. And this is the chart that outlays those risk factors. So over on the left, you have the low transmission is blue, moderate transmission yellow, elementary schools, physical distancing at least 3 feet between students in classrooms, and at high school as well. There are no areas within New York State right now that have those transmission levels. Over 98% of the counties are in the high transmission red level, which is what Erie County is as well. So in elementary schools, physical distancing at least 3 feet of distance between students in classrooms, and cohorting is recommended where possible, and we're able to do that because of the ability to cohort students, which we have been doing since September. Middle school and high school, schools that can use cohorting at least 3 feet of distance is allowed. Schools that cannot use cohorting, at least 6 feet of distance between students has to remain in classrooms. We simply cannot cohort our middle level and high school level students because of their academic pathways. They are mixing throughout the day depending on their academic plan and what courses they're needing to take throughout the day. Parents, again, this is a reminder, again, from September. By sending your children to school each day, you are confirming that you have completed a daily home health screening. If you are unable to complete a full screening at home, please contact your school nurse so arrangements can be made at school. In addition, every individual since September entering a school building will be required to have their temperature checked via a Temp Guardian auto hand scan thermometer and or a tempo thermometer. A little bit about our facilities. Based on the guidance, tables have been, for the most part, been replaced by individual desks. Desks have been spaced 3 feet apart within the classrooms. A secondary cafeteria has been created in the old gymnasium, which is pictured on the right, as to accommodate 6 feet of distance during lunch periods. That allows us to spread out our students between our existing cafeteria and our new auxiliary cafeteria. And then when weather allows, gym classes will be outside or in other available spaces within the building. Classroom seating charts will be created in a checkerboard format as to allow for incidental eating and or scheduled mass breaks between our AL and MZ pods, thus allowing for 6 feet of distance between students during these occasional activities. And you can see in the graphic there, that's pretty much how all of the classrooms will be set up for our students. The Depew Union Free School District in-person remote learning plans have 3 key tenets: social and emotional support, instructional support, and content delivery. Continued expectations and supports that the district will provide for our students to support social and emotional well-being. In fact, the week of April 19th, next week, will be dedicated to assisting our students to acclimate themselves with their new classmates and the new capacity levels. It will be a modified soft opening similar to the first 2 weeks this past September. Instructional support will be geared towards the continued support of the content delivery of both the in-person and the remote learning experiences. And then the content delivery provide resources that will be used by students, staff, and parents in both the remote and in-person environments. Transportation, and this is a big piece of how our plan will be successful. In order to reduce the density of students on buses, the district has encouraged parents to transport their children to and from school. About 40% will need busing a full 5 days a week, 27% will be dropped off and picked up 5 days a week, and 16% will have a variety of busing and drop off and pick up. The district will seat students from the rear of the bus forward to limit students from walking past one another. The bus driver will confirm with the student that they are symptom-free before entering the bus, and when possible, and to reduce density of students on buses, no more than 1 student will be assigned to each seat, and students in the same household may sit together 2 to 3 a seat. Arrival and dismissal. We will continue to not host an early morning drop-off due to the number of students in a shared space. The building will not open until 8:45. Parents are not to drop their students off prior to 8:45 and or arrive earlier in the parking lot prior to their designated times. The letters of those times are based on your youngest child's last name. It's the same way we've been doing it since September. Parent drop-off in the morning will be in 2 shifts. At 8:45, our A through L group will come through, and at 9 a.m., our M through Z group will come through, and will continue to be at the front entrance of the building. Parent pickup in the afternoon will also be in 2 shifts. At 2:50, our A through L group will get picked up, and then at 3:05, our M through Z group will be picked up. And the YMCA Universal Pre-K program will continue to have designated pickup points in the front of the school building. Vehicle flow and logistics were considered to accommodate anticipated increase in parent transports. Due to traffic and safety hazards, all traffic will still be limited to buses, deliveries, and designated staff on the service road. All other traffic will be directed to utilize Como Park Boulevard to enter and exit the campus. School buses will unload and load 1 bus at a time in the back of the school building, just like we have been doing since September. And students must report directly to their classroom upon arrival and then to the cafeteria to get their breakfast. If parents are signing out at a time other than arrival or dismissal, the procedure will take place in the health office or the main office based on the purpose. And in most events, It needs to be done prior to 2:15 p.m. to avoid traffic congestion with that pickup time. And that was formerly 2:30. So from September until tomorrow, it was 2:30. Starting Monday, that'll move to 2:15. Drop-off items of students will be limited to emergency reasons like it has been, along with visitors will only be permitted in the building for essential business. Again, this is a graphic that was shared back in August when we were reopening for September, showing where the drop-off and pickup is in the front of the building at Cayuga. The yellow arrows are for our bus traffic only, and that service road is not allowed to be accessed by unauthorized vehicles. For drop-off, and these are some very important and key points, please do not arrive prior to your designated time. Again, 8:45 for A through L and 9 a.m. for M through Z. And again, the letters are based on your youngest child's last name. There can't be any standing traffic on Como Park Boulevard, and you may be asked by police patrols to circle around the block and come back to the parking lot entrance if there's no capacity for you to enter the lot. Please always follow the direction of the traffic control personnel who have safety vests on while in the parking lot. There will be no stopping at the front of the entrance of the building when there's room further ahead of the drop-off loop. If this happens, traffic control personnel will advise you to move ahead. Parents must stay within arm's length of their car, and once their children are out of the car, they need to pull away safely but promptly so we can make space for other vehicles. For pickup, please do not arrive prior to your designated time. 2:50 for the A through L, 3:05 for M through Z. Colored index cards will be provided to each car. These are starting to be handed out tomorrow. They will need to be on your dashboard and in full view of all traffic control personnel for the full time you are in the lot. A through L will get green cards and M through Z will get pink cards. Please always follow the direction of the traffic control personnel who have the safety vests on. And again, there will be no stopping at the front entrance of the building when there is room ahead in the drop-off loop. The drop-off and pickup process is critical to our returning to 5 days a week of in-person learning. It will require patience and flexibility for it to work. As of today, we are expecting up to 75 cars for the A through L group and 65 cars for the M through Z group, which is less than what we're currently handling on our AL days and our MZ days. There's been some shifts with folks choosing busing over the drop-off and pickup, which is good news, but we just need to keep that flow going in between the two groups. So based on flow and congestion and safety, we may need to adjust our times in the future if we're finding that it is too congested and causes those safety concerns. For instance, we may need to adjust morning drop-off from 8:45 and 9 a.m. to 8:45 and 9:10 a.m. and pickup from 2:50 p.m. and 3:05 p.m. to 2:45 and 3:10 p.m. This will give us another buffer of 10 minutes either way if we do need to utilize that plan. But we're confident that with the amount of cars and with splitting the groups and the flows that we have set up, the processes that we have set up, we should be able to do this effectively and efficiently. So some of the frequently asked questions, as I mentioned, again, before I get into those, remember to submit any of your thoughts to the Thought Exchange so that we can create an updated FAQ and answer any of those unanswered questions from this presentation. But if families decide to send their children to school and then change their minds, can they easily switch to remote learning? Vice versa, if families decide to remote learn, can they easily switch to in-person instruction? So parents may switch between the option of in-person instruction to remote learning, but not necessarily from remote learning back to in-person. The commitment for remote learning is for the rest of the school year, and this is due to staffing and planning needs. 1 to 2 teachers, K through 5, are assigned to remote learning classes, and we may not have the space in the in-person classrooms to add back students. Remember, we have to adhere to the 3-foot rule now. This will be determined on a case-by-case basis. If school is forced to close and resumes in full remote learning, will teachers be expected to provide consistent instruction just like in in-person learning? Yes. Learning course content will continue at home following a similar sequence and timeline as in school for most courses. Some instruction may be broken into small group work. Given the development level of students, instruction will be monitored. Will teachers be taking attendance when students are remote learning? Yes. SED guidance requires that attendance be taken daily. As mentioned in the presentation, times are staggered for drop-off and pick-up at Cayuga Heights. And again, it's important that you do not arrive earlier than your pickup and your drop-off and pick-up times. What if there are positive cases within a classroom or school? This will be a significant risk as we come back to 5 days a week of in-person learning and that 3-foot distance. Since our students will be 3 feet apart rather than 6 feet apart, the Erie County Department of Health contact tracers may quarantine an entire classroom. If there are 9 or more cases within the building, the Erie County Department of Health could close the building for 10 days at a time, just like they did our middle school prior to the spring recess. Our students would then learn remotely for that period of time. Again, please respond to the thought exchange if you have any additional questions, and I will compile those and update our FAQ, and we will have that posted to our website, www.depewschools.org, by tomorrow. The thought exchange will be open till 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, and a recording of this presentation will also be posted to our website for those families that weren't able to attend tonight at 6 o'clock. Thank you very much for your time this evening. We are very excited about having our students back in session 5 days a week, and we are confident that we are ready for them. Thank you, and have a great night.